This spring home buying season in Ohio has prices hitting dangerous levels. And here is proof, folks. In Columbus, we are now at a record high home price, $344,000. But that's just the beginning, because in Cincinnati, we're also at a record high home price, now $309,000. But the fun doesn't stop there, because in Cleveland, home prices are now $246,000 for the typical house. And that's an all-time record high home price. Folks, this is a very, very dangerous spring housing market. And here's what's weird. We have prices going up and up and up, but at the same time, inventory isn't really growing at the pace we need it to grow at. We have fewer people putting their houses on the market than we did last year. And buying demand is low. In some areas, there are fewer people buying houses than they were this time last year. So we've got record high home prices, not enough homes, a market that's basically split into something has to break, you think, right? So really, what does all this mean for you as an Ohio homeowner, maybe home buyer, maybe home seller, maybe investor? That's what we're finding out today. We're diving into the latest Ohio housing market data on the Ohio Housing Nerd. Good afternoon. My name is Jason Ferrier. I am a realtor here in Central Ohio. I'm a investor, and I'm the Ohio Housing Nerd. So I'm glad that you joined me today. How this works is I'm going to give you a top-level look at the Ohio market from a data standpoint, and then I'll take your request for individual zip codes that you want me to review. And so drop your zip code below, and let's get into it. All right. And obviously, drop your comments in the chat. I'll get to your comments as well. If you have just a normal housing market question, I'm here to answer it. So we do this every week. We do this every week on the Ohio Housing Nerd. All right. Oh, and quick disclaimer. I'm not a accountant. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just going to give you the data you need to make a great decision. And none of this is financial advice. I'm certainly not telling you to buy or sell anything. Quick disclaimer out of the way, and here we go. So I'll use this look right here. All right. So yeah, let me go back to Columbus and show you what's going on. So when you look at Columbus home prices, you can see $344,000. That's the typical home value in Columbus. And again, you can see by this chart, that's an all-time record high. Homes have never been more expensive than they are right now in Columbus. But actually, let me back up a minute. I kind of got ahead of myself. Let me show you Ohio in general. So if you look at the state of Ohio, overall in the state, we're at an all-time record high home price. I mean, look at this, $240,716. That's as of the end of February. And this is the typical price. Not every house, obviously, not the average. It's not the median. It's the typical price. So homes never been more expensive than they are right now in Ohio. And then if I go to a metro look of the state, I did Columbus. Now I can do Cincinnati. Look at Cincinnati. Record high home price, $309,000 right now. Homes have never been more expensive than they are right now in Cincinnati. Cleveland, same thing, 246. And if I go through this map, there's probably a lot of other areas where, homes have never been more expensive. Look at Mount Vernon, little old Mount Vernon, $274,960. $960. And let's go now over to, we'll look at Findlay. Is Findlay a record high home price? Certainly is. Record high home price in Findlay, $228,000. $19. If I go up to Toledo, $190,000 record high home price. Unreal, right? Unreal. Just keeps going and going and going. But you probably want to know about your individual market, and we'll get to that in a minute. Again, drop your comment, drop your zip code and your city in the comments, and I will get to it here in a few minutes after I do the overall update. And do me a favor, if you're joining us on the Ohio Housing Nerd, hit the like button, subscribe. We're close to 10,000 subscribers, folks. 10,000 subscribers. So help us get there. If you haven't subscribed already, hit the subscribe button. All right, now, so we know prices are up, right? We understand that. If I look at a county level on prices, you can see some of these counties like Delaware County. Right now, I don't know that Delaware is an all-time high right now, but it's $530,000, right? So we can look at a county level. Look, I can go to Cuyahoga County. That's an all-time record high, $216,403. Someone forgot to tell the Ohio housing market that they needed to crash, right? You got all these people out there right now on YouTube, the media, saying homes, there's problems in the housing market. There certainly are problems, but it's not what most people think, right? It's the prices in Ohio, they keep going up. They just do. Now look at this. Look at inventory for a minute. This is crazy. So I'll show you what's happening with the number of homes for sale, which is really important to know. So I'm going to go year over year. So when I look at the state overall, if you think about the number of homes on the market, we actually have nearly 10% more homes than we did last year for sale in Ohio. Not bad, right? You think, oh, that's good news. And it is. At least we don't have fewer homes for sale, because some areas of Ohio actually do have fewer homes for sale than last year. But look at active inventory versus 2019, down 37%. So there's still 37% fewer homes for sale right now than we had in 2019. It's crazy. I mean, if you think about that, it's like, wow, that's a big, that's a big difference in active inventory, because more homes on the market drives prices down. It usually does. But look at this. Look at new listings. So how many people are actually listing their house? Well, you know what? Let me go back to this look and show you. So if I look at inventory year over year, going back to the number of homes for sale, and I look at some individual cities, look at Cleveland. They have 8% more homes for sale than last year. So they do have more inventory than 2025. Look at Columbus. They have 9% more homes for sale. Not a ton, but definitely a little uptick. Look at Cincinnati, though. They have 20% more homes for sale in Cincinnati. So, depends on where you go. Obviously, real estate's hyper local. But if you go out from a county look on inventory, there are actually counties with fewer homes for sale than last year. Can you believe it? Believe it. Look at Knox County, 11% fewer homes for sale than last year. Look at Harrison County. Who's here from Harrison County? Anybody? Down 54% in the number of homes for sale. And again, I can do your individual market, your zip code, and your city. We'll get to those. Just drop them in the comments. Look at Hancock County, down 11% in the number of homes for sale. Sandusky County, down 18% in the number of homes for sale versus last year. My county, where I live, Licking County, down 6%. So here in Licking County, home of the Intel plant, we have 6% fewer homes on the market. Unbelievable. You go down south, it gets even worse. Look at this. Ross County down 2.7, Pickaway County down 1.4, Highland County down 8%, Brown County down 10%, Adams County down 7%, Scioto County down 6%, Jackson County down 40%. I mean, just not enough listings in a lot of these areas to cause any type of price problems. I mean, look at now let's actually take a look at the inventory versus 2019. And this is a look from pre-COVID to now. And if you've been joining us every week, you'd know that this story kind of hasn't really changed. In fact, it's getting worse in some counties. I mean, brown is down. So anything you see that's brown means that we have fewer homes on the market than we did in 2019. Fewer homes, not more, fewer. Look at Knox County, down 32% in the number of homes for sale versus 2019. Licking County, down 21%. Delaware County, down 28%. I mean, Franklin County is one of the only counties right now where we have more homes for sale than we did in 2019. One of the only counties. So you want to see higher inventory levels. That drives prices down. All right, now let's look at new listings because we looked at inventory, but let's look at how many people are actually putting their houses on the market. And I'm going to look at it compared to 2019. These are brand new listings coming to market. So like in Delaware County, for instance, there's 25% fewer new listings right now than we had before the pandemic. People just don't want to list their homes. Anything brown is down. Cuyahoga County, down 24%. Down 24%. Versus 2019. Just unreal. People just don't want to put their homes on the market in a lot of these areas of Ohio, folks. They just don't. Look at Sandusky County, 46% fewer new listings. Nuts. Crazy. I mean, for the state, I think we're down. Yeah, look at this for the state. Compared to 2019 in the entire state of Ohio, we have 20% fewer people putting their house on the market. Just ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. So what does that mean? It really means that you're in a situation where you've got the market's locked. You don't really have a lot of people wanting to put their house on the market because it's expensive to move, right? It's not only expensive to move, but it's expensive to buy that next house with a higher rate, higher price, property taxes, insurance, and there's not a lot to choose from. There's just not. We're not building near enough homes in Ohio that we need, quite frankly. And that surprises a lot of people. A lot of people think we're overbuilt. Like I see developments there, Jay. I see developments over here. I see a housing development here. We're building all kinds of homes. No, we're really not. We're woefully undersupplied in new homes. And so buyers don't have a lot of choices out there. They just don't. So yeah, that's what's happening with new listings. Now, let me show you what's happening with demand. So I'm going to go to pending listings. In other words, how many homes are actually going into contract right now? And we'll compare it to last year first. Look at Ohio, basically flat, meaning the same number, virtually the same number of people right now are statewide are putting homes in contract, buying homes versus last year. And if I look at it from a county, well, let me look at it from a metro standpoint. Look at this, Cleveland down 5%. So you have 5% fewer buyers right now in Cleveland than you did last year. 5%. Fewer people looking for houses in Cleveland. Look at Columbus, though. Columbus is actually up 5%. I'm rounding from 4.7, but you get my drift. So demand in Columbus is a little higher than it was last year. It's not an explosion of demand, but it's not, at least it's not down like Cleveland, right? Look at Cincinnati, down 4%. So you have fewer people in Cincinnati and Cleveland listing their house. I'm sorry, fewer people in Cleveland and Cincinnati buying homes. You have buying demand down, but buying demand is a little higher in Columbus. I don't know that there's any real reason for that, except there is more inventory in Columbus. Maybe that's the reason. Could be. Could very well be. Let's go to a county level on pending. So look at Delaware. Delaware County has an explosion of pending listings. Look at this, up 30%. That means there's a lot more buyers right now in the market. Or over the last month, there's been a lot more buyers than last year. Look at Licking County, where I am, down 1.8. So basically, it's down a little bit, but effectively flat, I guess. Look at Franklin County, up 2.4%. So there are a little, a little more activity in Franklin County. Remember, Columbus was up what, nearly 6%, I think, if memory serves me. So, but if you look at the entire county, right, Franklin County, up a little bit, not a ton. So we haven't really seen that surge of buying demand come running back into the housing market at all, really. It's still kind of frozen, really frozen. And this spring, we could just end up being frozen. Like, not a lot of people listing, not a lot of people buying, and prices, unfortunately, continuing to go up. It doesn't look like they're stopping. So that's kind of a look at the market overall in the Buckeye State. But let me look at some comments real quick, and then I will start looking at your data. Oh, got a super chat just to start off with. Thanks, Tech Girl. You're welcome. You're welcome. As you can tell, I'm sure I put a lot of energy into this, and this means a lot. Thank you for the $10. That's very nice of you. It is. I put a lot of energy into YouTube. Maybe more energy in YouTube and my real estate business. Being an agent and a realtor, than maybe more effort in this job now, or this career, I guess, than any other career I've ever had. I mean, it's like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that means a lot. So thank you, Tech Girl. I know you're a big supporter of the channel. You're always around. Tammy, how you doing? Stagnant. Yeah, very stagnant. Unbelievably stagnant. And even homes that are priced well, great homes in great areas, they're still struggling sometimes to move. Like, so houses are sitting on the market. There's no doubt about it. It's not like, in fact, you know what? We'll look at that in a minute. I'll get to the days on market, because homes are sitting. Homes are sitting in certain cases. In certain cases, they're flying off the shelf. I'm waiting to buy camp. I'm in the waiting to buy camp. Yeah. I mean, patience is okay. Nothing wrong with having patience. Oh, good luck. Yeah, there you go. What's up, Becky? Data center impacts on Union County? Maybe. I don't know if I'd read too much into that. It's right now, I think the majority of areas are suffering because there's just not a lot for sale. Just in general. I mean, there's only like 4 counties in Ohio that have more inventory than 2019. So it's just a lack of inventory. I mean, when there's not a lot of choices out there for people to go after, the market's not moving. And so the things that do sell, generally speaking, are in great condition, or they're priced higher than they were last year. That's why prices keep going up, right? Hey, you're welcome. Oh, well, I love you too. I love you guys. I feel like Rocky. Yeah, I love yous too. That was my bad Rocky impression. Oh, well, thank you. All kinds of gushing over the housing nerd today. I appreciate it. What do you look for a client to have ready to go when they come to you to buy a house? What paperwork? What sort of down payment? Wow. That's a great question. So I do have a free buyer guide on my website. I have a brand new website, by the way, ohiohousingnerd.com. I just launched that last week. Didn't make a big deal about it because there's not a lot on there yet. There's one blog article I wrote so far. You can check that out. And then if you go to Ohio Housing Nerd free, /free, and the links in the description below, I have a buyer guide that tells you how to kind of check yourself mentally if you're ready to buy a house. That can help, evil overlord. But in general, it depends on the situation, right? And the only thing I say is that you need to be pre-approved before we look at homes. But if you want to talk before that, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, talk strategy overall. Like, if you're thinking, I'm going to buy in 5 years, fine. Let's have a conversation now so you know what to do and how to prepare yourself, if that makes sense. So I don't need any paperwork except for a pre-approval if you want to actually look at homes, right? That's the only thing I ask for. And on the down payment, that's kind of up to you and the bank, right? And kind of your financial situation. So again, a strategy call is usually a good idea, right? Just we call and just talk for whatever time, or if you want to meet face to face, we can always do that too, and have a strategy meeting. Even if you're thinking, oh, I'm going to buy 5 years from now, not even 1 year from now, right? Nothing wrong with that, getting prepared. But check out that free buyer guide. The link's in the description below. But great question. I'm going to get to these in a minute. Get to your zip codes in a minute. Wow. Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for all you do. How many signatures have been collected on the tax issue? I don't know. They won't tell us. They won't. I mean, I don't have like an inside track or anything, but I do know that they've collected them in all the counties of Ohio, and all like needed counties. Like they needed 44 counties, I think. So they have signatures on all those 44 counties, but I don't know how many they actually have total. They don't want to tell anybody because they want to just keep going as hard as possible and then announce it. I guess I'm sure you'll know. I'm sure there'll be a big announcement once it's ready. Oh, my son, an engineer. Hell yes, data center popping up. Yeah, there are data centers everywhere. There are data centers everywhere. We need to make everybody in the government take a cut in pay. Good luck. Why are we paying so much in taxes for them not to do anything for us? Well, look, there are tons of people in local and state governments that actually probably work really hard and do a lot of great things. I mean, it'd be naive for us, I think, to think that everybody is just like that. But there's also a lot of waste, right? So I think you have both. If you have 40 grand, they listen, down payment. I mean, it depends. It really depends on your situation. Sometimes, and then the house you're buying, right? You may need 40 or you may need less than that. I always stress though that you need, 6 months of reserves, at least 6 months, if not a year of reserves ready to go in case the apocalypse happens and you bought a house. Like, hey, if you lose your job, if your partner or spouse lose their job, whoever's responsible for the mortgage, can you work at McDonald's and still make your mortgage payment? Right? Do you have reserves set aside in case a tree falls, right? Which we had over the last week, right? I mean, the damage from the last couple of weeks was there was a lot of damage. So sometimes homeowners insurance pays for that stuff, sometimes it doesn't. So you got to have, money set aside for the what ifs. So I always stress having a big reserve fund ready to go because you just don't know. Your heating could go out, right? Your roof could have a leak in it, all that. So I do want to get to the zip codes, but I should address this. Yeah, it depends where you live, depends on your situation. But I can tell you here locally, the only way, and I'm doing a video about this now. I'm getting ready. I'm starting to film a video about the local services and tax dollars. And in my little area, the only way that the fire department is funded is through property tax. That's the way it's funded. And quite frankly, they are an amazing fire department. I personally know the fire chief, and he does an excellent job. The group of guys over there and gals are really responsive. My family has had to use them for medical emergencies before, and they are Johnny on the spot. So I think something like that is well worth the money. Now, I don't like getting taxed on the unrealized gain of my properties, so I could do without that. That's why I don't like property tax, but they need funded. So if that's a bill I get in the mail every year, okay, fine. If that's a increased sales tax, all right. I don't like the property tax, but those guys and gals at the fire department here locally and police department, they need funded because they do a fantastic job, at least where I live. They do. And by the way, the schools here are fantastic too. So I have no problem with the schools being funded. It's just the manner in which they collect the dollars. But everybody is, everybody's different. I talked to someone who knows yesterday about signatures and said we'll be hard pressed to get enough signatures for the November ballot. We need more volunteers hosting signing events. Yeah, I mean, the good news is if they don't get enough for November, then they may have enough. They would have enough next year, right? It's like perpetual. So at some point, they're going to collect enough signatures. Yeah. All right. I'm looking for zip codes. You guys are talking about property taxes, which is fine. We can talk about property taxes, but let's look at some zip codes. All right. Lost cord. For a friend, 45373. 45373. Where's that? If you can, put your city in too. If you can do that for me. But before we get to your zip code, let me pull. I'm going to pull the days on market to show you how. What to do here? Yeah, to show you how long homes are sitting on the market. Let's look at that because I actually haven't looked at that data yet since this update. So state level. Homes, okay, this is interesting. So at a state level, homes are taking 3 days longer to sell than last year, 3 days on a state level. And so median days on market is 60 days. If I look at it from a chart standpoint, check this out. So homes are taking 60 days to actually go into contract. That's the median, the one in the middle, not average, but that's how we're measuring this is median days. So 60 days. Now, last year was 57, so an increase of 3 days. Look at the year before that, 49. And it was 49 during COVID when homes were moving, fast, right? And historically, if you look, you can see 73 back in 2020, in 2019, 77, in 2018, 80, in 2017, right? 83 days. So homes are sitting longer than they were the last few years, but it's not like it's not a historical high. I mean, places in like Texas, Florida, Arizona, Colorado, some places in California, homes are sitting a long time because they have a lot more inventory than we do. And by the way, I have a national channel, Housing Nerd, not Ohio Housing Nerd, if you want to join us on that one. It's kind of a just an overall look at the entire market through the U.S. And it's crazy the way some of these markets function compared to Ohio, right? But this is all about Ohio because I'm an Ohioan. All right, let me go to your zip code you wanted to review. Active inventory 2019. Yeah, I'm going to do this. Okay, let's 45373. 45373. I thought I was going to get to do this live stream outside on my porch, but it's going to rain. I don't want to get wet. I have it's kind of like an enclosed porch, but if the wind blows right, I'll get soaked. That wouldn't be good. But it's almost time. It's almost time, nerds, for me to go outside for these live streams. It's getting warmer. Thank goodness. All right. So this zip code, 45373, we're going to look at inventory first, the number of homes for sale compared to 2019. So we're looking now compared to pre-COVID. Why pre-COVID? Because that's the last time the housing market was normal, right? Use that loosely, but normal. So you have, in this zip code, you've got 12.5% fewer homes for sale than you did before COVID. So inventory is down slightly. Let me just look this up and find out where that is. 45373. Oh, it's Troy. Okay, this is Troy, Ohio. That's where we are. All right, so in Troy, 45373, you have less inventory, but not It's not down 40% like it is statewide, but definitely less homes than 2019, and that's important. Now let's look at the inventory count. In other words, how many homes are actually on the market? 70 houses. You can see last year you had 53. So inventory is definitely growing. You can see this trend right here, right? Look at that trend grow, meaning more people are listing their homes. Inventory is growing. That's good. That's good if you're looking for better pricing, generally speaking. But now let's look at prices and see how they're doing. Let's make this. So year over year, wow. In Troy, home prices are actually still up 4%. So they're still growing. Like there hasn't been a month going all the way back to 2012. There hasn't been a month going all the way back to 2012 where home prices fell. I mean, they've been growing basically for, 14 years. And we see this in a lot of the areas of the state. So if you're waiting to buy, a couple of folks commented saying, I'm waiting to buy. I'm in the waiting to buy camp. I'm not telling you that home prices will go up forever in Ohio. I'm not saying that. But the trend right now shows, unless we see a lot more homes for sale, expect prices to continue to go up. And the challenge is we're not building enough homes in Ohio, especially affordable homes. And when I say affordable, like 200,000, 250,000, 300,000 even, or right under 300 would be great. We're just not getting those. I mean, a lot of new construction here is like 6, 7, 800 grand. That's where builders make their money. So then you're left with the existing homes out there. Well, the existing homes are old, really old in Ohio. Only it's like less than, it's like around 2% of all houses, according to the U.S. Census. Around 2% of all houses in Ohio were built after 2020. So you have a very small stock of homes that are new. Most homes are old. A lot of homes built before 1940. You guys know that, right? If you think about that, it's closing in on 100 years. And a lot of homes built before 1900. So that's going to be 125 years old, 126 years old. The point is, unless you can grow inventory, you're not going to see big price declines. You've got to have inventory on the street. And you could have little declines here and there, some softening. But overall, I think prices are going to keep going up unless we have more inventory. So I'm not saying you shouldn't wait. You can wait. I'm not saying you're going to miss out. It just depends on your situation. But if you're waiting for a crash, you need to watch the inventory numbers where you want to buy. And if you don't see inventory numbers growing, probably no crash. All right. So that was active inventory compared to 2019, active inventory year over year. And now let's go to the typical price. We looked at year over year price. Let's go to typical price. Wow, look at this. $277,410 in Troy, Ohio. That's actually, no, I'm sorry, $277,990. And that's an all-time record high home price in Troy. So here's another area of this state where homes have never been more expensive. I mean, we've set a record high home price. Unbelievable. In Troy, Ohio. Who would have thought? And look down here. I mean, in 2012, homes were 128 grand, and now they're 270. I mean, they seriously ran up over the last decade. Over the last 5 years, rather. I mean, they've really ran up. In fact, if I look at how much they've grown since COVID, homes in Troy, Ohio are up 56% in cost, in price, however you want to say it, in cost. I don't know why I said that. 56% higher since COVID. And now they're growing, what would we see? They're growing 4% in Troy, right? Yeah, 3.9. So the growth is slowing, right? Like you can see this time last year, prices were growing at 7.4%, which is really, I mean, that's a big acceleration in prices. But now that growth is slowing, but it's still growing. I mean, this could drop theoretically to like 1-2% every year. And we could go sideways like that for a long time. But unless we see a lot of inventory, prices probably won't come down much. Wow. Okay. That is Troy, Ohio. Thanks for suggesting that one. Let's look at another one. If I miss one, let me know because I'll probably miss some. I did this one. What's up, Chuck? 45036 Springboro. 45036. All right, let's do it. 45036. All right. Inventory. Look at this. You actually have more homes for sale in Springboro than you did before the pandemic. So that's good. You've got some growth there. You've probably just, hopefully that's helping you with pricing. It's making the market normal. And by the way, it helps sellers too. It's a kind of a weird situation. Like if you have a ton of inventory, like excess inventory, then it's not going to help sellers. That'll make prices go down. But it makes it for a healthy market if you have a good mix of homes for sale, because then people that are buying, right, they're like, all right, I've got some choices out there. They're more active. They're going to be in the market. A lot of people just stop looking because they're frustrated because there's not a lot out there. So you want some inventory to get buyers out there. And plus, if you're selling your house to try to buy a new one or a different home, you want inventory to go to, right? Theoretically. Yeah, look at this. You've got 123 homes on the market right now. Last year, wow, you had 60. So that's a big difference. That's a big difference in Springboro. 52 homes the year before that. And during COVID, you only had 31. So you actually have a decade high of inventory. 123 homes. And if you go all the way back to 2017, you only had 101 homes. We don't see this a lot in Ohio where you've got a decade high level. So definitely, I'm sure you're seeing more houses on the market, Chuck. Let me know if you are. I'm sure you are. I'm doing the right zip code, right? 45036. 4503. Yeah, I am. Okay. Just double checking. All right. Now let me go to prices and see what's happening. Oh, prices are still going up 2.3% year over year. And let's see how they've done, if they're at an all-time high. They are. They're still going at an all-time high, 413,606. Now, it could be also that some of the houses out there are newer. They're just more expensive, right? That's why that typical home value continues to go up. But I would think that you're going to start to see some type of leveling off of the home price growth because of your inventory level. Unless all that inventory is like junk, right? Unless it's like homes that nobody wants, right? Maybe they're like all beat up, or maybe they're all luxury houses, then, that could change the picture. But yeah, let me know what you're seeing there, because it looks like you're seeing a lot more inventory. And it's not an exact science, right? I mean, sometimes you can grow inventory and prices still go up. Again, because there could be a lot of luxury homes for sale. Or there could be homes that just, that are beat up, right? Maybe a lot of old stock that people don't want to buy and renovate for a variety of reasons. Why that could happen. You could have inventory growth, but prices still going. Generally speaking, more inventory, lower prices, generally. But I would think if you continue to grow inventory, you will probably see a price decline or softening or leveling, not a massive decline. All right. So that's 45036. And if you have a specific question about that market or about any market when you're asking for one, yeah, just put it in there. Oh, Sylvania, 43560. I almost bought an investment property there, a duplex. Actually, it was a triplex. I wish I had because it was a good deal. But I just I don't know, too far away from me. 43560. 43560. All right, let's look at inventory compared to 2019. Look at this, down 57%. Just fewer homes on the market, Tammy. Fewer homes than than before COVID, and you only have 52 right now. Before COVID, you had 121. That's a big difference, and that hurts, right? That hurts as a buyer, and it hurts as a seller in a weird way because again, you don't have anywhere to go. But inventory's on the struggle bus in Sylvania. Yeah, prices up 3% year over year. Is it an all-time record high home price? Let's find out. Yeah, it is. Look at that. 325,732, all-time record high in Sylvania. Wow. Man. So far, all the zip codes we've looked at, prices are at record highs. I mean, unless you follow other YouTubers, housing market YouTubers, or unless you follow me on the national channel, like you wouldn't know, but it's crazy to see these record high home prices continue to go up compared to the rest of the nation. I mean, most of the nation still has higher prices than last year, but not like this. They're not usually just record high after record high. Oops. What happened here? All right. 43560 Sylvania. What's next? Thank you for that, Tammy. Thanks for always being here too. Commercial Point, 43116. 43116. Oh. Come on. Oh, this thing sometimes. Come on, Resi Club. It's not letting me play here. 43116. Come on. Sorry. Resi Club is giving me a little bit of a problem here. I use Resi Club, RESI Club, for this data. And they pull it from Zillow and Realtor.com. And usually it functions pretty well. But sometimes this functionality just, let me, 43023. Okay, well, that zip code worked. It just doesn't like, did I use the wrong zip code or something? 43116, yeah. I don't know. It doesn't like your zip code. I don't know why. I'll come back to it. Maybe it's just a glitch in the website or something, but I'll come back to that one. AJ, I'll come back to it. I'm taking zip codes right now. I'll come through and look at the comments here in a minute. In a few minutes anyway. Dublin, 43017. Yeah, let's look at that one for sure. For sure. 4317. That's a big zip code in the area. 43. I like to find out what's going on in Dublin myself. All right. See, that one worked. I don't know what's up with that Commercial Point one. Anyway, we'll look at Dublin. I'll come back to Commercial Point. If I forget, AJ, shoot it to me in the comments at the end. All right. So let's do inventory first. Let me do that. Yeah. So Dublin right now, zip code 43017, has 40% fewer houses than they had back in 2019. So just fewer homes for sale again. And that's going to probably keep prices higher for longer. Let me look at the number of homes. Only 55 homes in Dublin right now. And remember, this is the spring selling season. This is spring, right? It's when like sellers are supposed to run back into the market. I mean, it's early in the spring selling season, but like if this doesn't change, if these inventory levels don't change rapidly, spring's going to be a bust. Spring's going to be a bust for the market. When I say bust, I mean not going to be a bust if necessarily from a pricing standpoint, but it could be a bust from like a transaction standpoint. I mean, a lot of realtors in the area are hurting because there's no transactions. Transactions are super low, no inventory, low buyer demand. So this market could be another bust like it has been the last couple of years if we don't get more inventory. Only 55 homes on the market. Unreal. Look at this. Back in 2017, Dublin had 111 houses on the market. And before COVID hit, 2019 had 90 houses. Surprising. All right, now let's do home prices in Dublin. Up 2.4%. And again, that growth is decelerating. The growth year over year, right? Because back during COVID, we were at, let me just make this a little bigger here. Back during COVID, we were like running 14% growth year over year. 14%, meaning home prices were up. I mean, here's 15% in 2021, meaning home prices were growing at 15% year over year back during COVID. I mean, that's completely nuts and not sustainable. Not sustainable at all. And now that growth is slowing, but it's still going. It is still growing. You're not declining, at least. Typical home value in Dublin, where are we at? I don't know that it's an all-time record high, but it's close. 600, wow. 621, 382. That's the typical house. And that's when they say typical, 35th to 65th percentile. It takes out all the highs and all the lows. But like, where's your all-time high? It's right around here, right? Or maybe you are an all-time high. No, you're not. Actually, it was last month, it looks like. No, December. So December of 2025, you were at 622. Now you're at 621. 382. Not that big of a difference. And by the way, that happens in most normal markets. In a normal situation, you've got home prices dip in the winter and then they come back up in the summer. But some of these markets we've looked at today, they don't do that. Prices are just going up and up and up. So Dublin, 621,382. Apologies if you hear the dogs. They're barking. Not my feet, the actual mutts. All right, that's Dublin. Let's do the next one. What is the next one? Oh, my number should be in the description. It should be in the description. If it's not, my email address is in there. So email me and we'll talk. Ooh, what's up? Destiny 5032. Yeah, you asked for Galena, I think. I had it on my list. 43021. We'll do that one. 43021. All right. In Galena, inventory down 54%. 54% means 54% fewer houses out there for sale versus pre-COVID. And Galena is not a huge market, so it's going to take a little bit of it's going to take actually a lot of inventory growth to get where we need to go. Um, as far as normalizing the market, right? Let me go to okay. Let me go to prices. How are prices doing? Home prices up 1.7% year over year. And keep in mind, this is another thing. Not all the new houses are probably in these numbers. They just don't put them all in here because builders oftentimes have like lots available, right? Or homes that are started. They'll usually put the spec homes in, but if homes are just started or under construction, they're not going to show up in these numbers. So a place like Galena has a lot of new construction. Powell, Dublin, they do have new construction. So that's not in the inventory numbers. You really have to get granular um, in the area you want to buy to and do some like real research to find out what's happening with new construction. But this kind of gives us an overall look at it. 1.7% up in home prices year over year. If I look at the typical value in Galena, where are we at? All-time record high, 638,863. Is that an all-time high? Yes, that's an all-time record high home price in Galena. Homes have never been more expensive. Goodness gracious. And Galena is a great town. Like very it's I mean, it's still a small town, but it's growing rapidly, right? It's kind of getting absorbed by the Intel madness, I guess, that and Sunbury. All right. So that is Galena. Now let's do another one here. Who's next? I'm probably going to miss somebody. Beaver Creek. All right. Let's do Beaver Creek. Got 50 people on, by the way. Thanks for joining. Hit the like button when you come in. That's the only ticket to ride. Beaver Creek 45434. 4543. All right. Inventory versus 2019 down 15%. So 15% fewer homes versus last year. Active inventory count, only 17 houses. Only 17 houses for sale. That's not a lot. And if I look at prices, where are prices right now? Let's find out. Oops. Let me go back to this. Inventory. 3, 4. Prices. Price is only up 1.9%, not even inflation, right? So they're actually going up lower than inflation is going up. They say it's going up, 2.5% or whatever it is. So they're actually down. Prices are down there in Beaver Creek compared to inflation numbers. So from a real standpoint, that does make a difference, but we're just looking at nominal, not counting inflation to keep things even on the analysis. But let's look at typical home value. How much are houses there? All-time record high, 379, 977. Wow. All-time record high in Beaver Creek. In Beaver Creek. So I missed this. earlier when somebody was asking about Galena. Let me go back to this real quick. I forgot this. So, Destiny. When it comes to Galena, just wanted to show you, and anybody out there actually, I do actually have, because you brought up Galena, I do actually have a listing in Galena. Here it is right here, 582 Zor Street in Galena, right? Amazing home. Immaculate care. Very like as far as the cleanliness and the care that the owners have taken of the home is top notch, and it's huge. It's big, 3,400 square feet or over 3,400. Has a lot of upgrades in the house. So this is a kind of a shameless plug for me, but open, type floor plan, upgraded flooring, upgraded counters. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful house. Has awesome natural light. So this home is on the market right now, and won't be an open house this weekend, but there will be probably next weekend. And the owners are asking 574, 800 right now. But price per square foot, it's dialed in. It's dialed in. So hit me up if you're interested in seeing it, and I'd love to show it to you. All right. So let me go back to this in your request. So that was Galena. Sorry, I had to go back for a second to Galena. Oh, I missed yours, Evil Overlord. My bad. My bad. Oh, I got a lot of them here that I missed. Goodness gracious. Shoot, Evil Overlord, you're going to have to put it up again. It'll take me forever to go through this. I got a lot of comments. I'm sorry. Yeah, put it in again, and I will do it. Let me go back to AJ's because I missed this one. It wouldn't work. 43116. All right. 43116. That's still not working. It must not like your zip code. Let me do this. It's Pickaway County, right? So let me just do the county if you're okay with that. Pickaway County. You've got 20% more houses on the market versus 2019, countywide. That's great. More inventory is good. More inventory is good. That's what we want to see. Number of homes for sale right now, 110 houses. Wow, look at this. During COVID, you only had 32 houses for sale. So you've improved a lot, and you actually have a decade high level. Not a decade high, but close. I mean, last year you had 112 homes, so you've lost 2 homes. But you have more houses than you did, back in 2019, 2018, 2017. Goodness. Goodness, goodness. Let's see prices. What's happening with prices? And this is Pickaway County, not just Commercial Point. 3.9% up year over year. So more houses for sale, but prices are still going up. Prices are still up. Let's look at the typical value. Typical value of a house, 323, 415, record high home price right now, all-time high in Pickaway County. Wow. Yeah, prices in Ohio just do not want to calm down. And maybe one of the reasons is it's a great, it is. It's a great place to live. I like it. I like Ohio. So I think a lot of people are discovering Ohio, right? And prices, honestly, are low compared to a lot of markets throughout the U.S. We're still, if you think, Ohio's typical home value is like under 300 grand. Nationwide, it's like 4 something. So We're well under the national median, the national typical home value price. That's probably why a lot of people want to buy a house here. All right. So I got Commercial Point done as best I could. Galena, I did this one. Who's next? Oh, I'll come back to some comments. I'm just looking for zip codes to do. Did Beaver Creek? There we go. What's up, Evo Overlord? 44240. Let's do it. 44240. Yeah, this is Kent, right? Wow. You have 41% fewer houses than 2019. No surprise, right? I think your inventory has been shot for a while. And number of houses for sale, 26. During COVID, you had 8. So you have gained some inventory. Good thing. But go back to historical numbers, and you could see in 2017, you had 86 houses. So you're still not back to that level. And again, one of the big problems is a lot of these markets, I can't say for sure yours, Evil, or not, if it's happening where you live, but in a lot of these markets, they're not building new homes at all in Ohio in some areas. And so if the existing homes are gone, unless somebody cobbles together their own house, where's the inventory going to come from? It's not. I mean, you have to have forced selling in mass to see big price declines. And we're just not seeing that yet. Or I don't know if we will see it. Let's look at prices now. Prices up 4% there. 4% in Kent. And what's the typical value? All-time record high home price in Kent, Ohio, $240,348. Man. I mean, even though prices are, only $240,000 for the typical house, and you have Dublin at like 600 and something, the locals there, and maybe you fall into this evil, but the locals there are priced out, right? They're like, if you grew up in this area, you're probably thinking, what? These prices are crazy. But if you come in from a different part of Ohio or a different part of the U.S. to buy a house, and you're like, well, Kent's a good area. I'll move there. Maybe you work from home or something. $240,000. Even if the house you buy is not the typical house, it's probably going to be less than where you came from. And I think that's one of the things we're seeing is people are just willing to pay more. Wow. I'm really surprised that the prices haven't softened more this year in our state. I really am. I thought we would see some type of leveling off, but not yet. All right, Evil, that's you. Destiny, I did that one. I think there were some. Let me go back to the top. All right. Jake. What's up, Jake? I'll do yours. I saw at the top there. 43228. I got you. 43228. Oh, this is inside Columbus, right? So if I zoom out for a second here. Yeah, you're on the west side there? 43228. All right. Inventory up 115% versus 2019. 115%. What does this inventory count look like? Yeah, you've got 56 houses right now. Before COVID, you had well, I guess the month before COVID, you had 26 houses. So definitely more homes even before COVID. I wonder how prices are. What's happening with prices? Well, look at this. One area so far where prices are down that we've looked at, down 0.9% year over year. So homes, generally speaking, the typical house is about 1% less than last year, 1% less. So at least they're not going up, right? And the typical home value is not at an all-time high. You're at 265,000. Your peak was right here last February, actually, at $267,000. So this is one market where you are off from the all-time high. And that's normal, right? I mean, that would be like a normal market to have some softness in the winter, unlike these other areas we're looking at. But it could be a function that you just have a lot of homes for sale, a lot more than you did, before COVID. So could be a lot of flips, right? In that area, could be. And if you kind of look at the other zip codes from an inventory standpoint around it, 43119 is up 63% in inventory. 43026 is up 13% in the number of homes versus 2019. So all those kind of markets or zip codes around you have more houses for sale than they did in 2019. Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that one. I hope that helped. And again, if you folks want to have like a more detailed conversation about your market, yeah, feel free to contact me. My email is below, or you can go to my website. You can go to jasonferrier.com, or I have an Ohio Housing Nerd website now, ohiohousingnerd.com. All right. So there's that. Destiny, I did yours. Gail, how you doing? 45628. Sorry I missed it earlier. 45628. I got all excited for that super chat from Tech Girl. What? 45628. 45628. Inventory. And where is that? Where is 45628? Frankfort, Ohio, in Ross County. Okay. Good stuff. Let's do it. Inventory down 50%, 57% versus pre-COVID. So haven't gained a whole lot of inventory, doesn't look like. Let's look at the inventory count. Oh, you only have 6 houses. So this one's going to be tough because there's only 6 homes on the market right now. Let me do a county look instead for you because it's just going to tell us more. There's just not a lot of data in that one zip code. Yeah, right now, in the whole county, there's 90 homes for sale. In the entire county of Ross County, only 90 homes. But that is more. Oh, no, it's less than last year. Last year, you had 92 homes. And during COVID, you had 34. So you've gained inventory since COVID when you were actually in COVID. But then if you look at before COVID started, you had 126. So not quite to pre-COVID levels. Again, look at this inventory. You can see how it's fallen, right? The number of homes for sale was falling before COVID. And then it bottomed out during COVID. And now you're starting to limp back to hopefully normal levels of the number of homes for sale. And that helps prices. Let's see what they're doing. What are home prices doing countywide? 2.1% up year over year. Again, the reason why I use the county, just because the number of houses where you are, there's not a ton. There's only like 6 houses in that zip code on the market. So it's not going to, it's very hard to analyze that data with just a few points there. So that's why I went to the county level. But prices up 2% year over year. There have been months historically where you've seen price decline. So it's not like it's up every single month. But what's the typical house cost? How much does it cost now? Typical home value. Is it an all-time high? It's 193,451 in Ross County. And that is an all-time high. So you're at an all-time high record price right now in the county. 193,451. Yikes. Most of these, in fact, all of them we've looked at except what, two? Dublin and was it Kent? Was it? Had a record high home price. If I remember right. It could be wrong. But that's just a couple zip codes didn't have record high home prices today. All right. So those are ones I missed at the beginning, I think. All right. I'm looking for other ones to do. Destiny, I did Evil, I did Destiny. 43056. Did I do this one already? Let me look. I don't think I did. Oh, stupid Jason. This is right near me. In Heath, Ohio. Great. Thank you for suggesting this one. Yeah, I know Heath well. All right. So inventory in Heath, Ohio, you're basically flat from 2019. Same number of homes for sale that you had pre-COVID. Active inventory count, only 23 houses on the market, if you can believe it, in Heath. I remember during COVID, only 5 houses. Look at that during COVID. Yep. I mean, that's crazy. Only 5 homes on the market. That's why prices went wacko. But let's look at prices there in Heath and find out what's happening. Up 2.4%. So home prices still growing, but not at 10 or 11%, thank goodness. And the typical value is now, wow, in Heath, $301,000. And that's an all-time record high price for Heath, Ohio. Jeez. And you can see prices there started to kind of fall last year. They got all the way down to 291. If that's a drop, I guess it is. But then they just have gone back up. And I think what's happening is, again, as more houses hit the market, buyers are like, oh, great, something to buy. It's not that they're saying, wow, there's so many houses to choose from. I'm going to make these crazy offers that are low in order to get a deal or get a discount. They're just saying there's not houses to choose from. And so as they add inventory, then buyers buy and the prices go up. 301,000 in Heath. Never thought I'd see that. All right, that's Heath, Ohio. Oh, look at this guy. Raymond, what's happening, man? Dude, that's so nice of you. Thank you, Raymond. Appreciate your hard work for us Ohioans, Jason. My area has gone up what feels like 50% in the last few years. Nothing is moving. My house is sat for 6 months. It's over. Going to give up when the contract's up in 2 weeks. All that house that you listed, your rental, dang, it hasn't moved. I mean, I am seeing it's odd right now, Raymond. Like I'm seeing homes sit when you wouldn't think they would, even if they're priced well, and that price is dialed in. Sometimes they're not moving. It's yeah, a lot of times. I mean, you may have to just reattack it here in the spring. But if you've dropped the price, which maybe you have, it could be that there's the buying activity in that market in that little neighborhood is just not strong right now. I hate to hear that you're going to give up though. I wonder, are you just going to rent it again? Maybe you will. Raymond has a YouTube channel, folks. Raymond Thoughts in Mind, and he's an Ohioan, just normal dude, and I'd recommend you check out his channel. He does a lot of um, observational stuff, I guess, about life. It's pretty interesting. I think it is anyway. So thank you, Raymond, for the super chat. Really appreciate it, man. Thank you, and I hope your family is well. Yeah, I mean, if you send, you're probably working with a realtor, so I don't want to step on their toes, but you know real estate. But if you want to brainstorm it all, I'm happy to talk to you about it, and see what can be done. One thing is, are you getting a lot of showings? Are you getting people to see the house? That could be something, and maybe some other ways to offload it too, perhaps some creative ways. So yeah, give me a shout or shoot me a text or something. Thanks, Raymond. Again. All right. Let me go back to what's up, Aaron? Housing is going up in Stow, Ohio, 44224. Low inventory, a couple of miles northeast of Akron. 44224. Let's look at it. 44224. Near Akron, huh? Yeah, I mean, you've got 80% fewer homes than pre-COVID. That's just bonkers crazy. But you only have 12 houses on the market. So, but I mean, look at this. Before COVID, you had what? 62 houses, 70 houses, 78 houses, 76 houses rather. So yeah, you had some actual inventory then. But lately you haven't had anything. I mean, you have fewer houses right now on the market than you did last year. If you can believe it. You've gone down in homes, not up. Man. And you're saying they're building, right? Did you say they're building a lot of homes? Housing is going up in Stow. Low inventory. You mean prices are going up or houses are being constructed? I assume you mean prices, but let's look. Yeah, they're up. They're up 4% year over year. 4%. And let's look at typical value. Typical value in 44224 near Akron, 306,951. It's an all-time record high price again and again and again. This is like, I mean, look at this line. It's just like, just keeps going. It's sad, right? It's sad from a market standpoint, from even from a realtor standpoint. I'm like, man, like you want it to be easier for people to access homes, and that helps sellers too. So this market, the way it is, being stagnant, is not fun as a realtor. It's just not. In a weird way, if prices were to go down, it'd be better as a realtor. That's what is kind of the nutty thing, right? You're like, hey, if prices started to come down and more people were in the market buying and selling, it'd be much better life as a realtor because you could count on your listing selling quicker. Your buyers would have opportunities and the market would just be more fluid. I'm sure if you're like a title company right now or a home inspection company, you definitely want more transactions. But it's definitely locked up. It's definitely locked up. I'm probably going to miss some people here, so you may have to put it back down again. And Raymond, if you wanted me to analyze your market, I'm happy to do it. She didn't ask, so I thought you were just be nice to me, which is cool. I appreciate it. 43123 Grove City. 43123 Grove City. Yeah, let's do this one. Grove City, Ohio. What do we got? Inventory versus 2019, up 1%. That's all. Basically flat from pre-COVID. But let's do the inventory count. How many houses are on the market right now? 76. Okay, some choices. Back during COVID, you had 41 houses, which ain't great. And then if you go all the way back to 2017, you were at 93 houses on the market in February. So, one thing you can tell from some of this data is, and if you look at data from Redfin because that's free, their charts are free and all that, you can see usually in the summer, right, inventory grows more, right, leading up to summer. But right now we're at 76 in Grove City, 76 houses for sale. Last year, 84. So you lost inventory year over year. Fewer houses than last year. That's what I'm saying. It's like, just when we thought it couldn't get slower, it is. All right. What's happening with prices in Grove City? Grove City prices. Grove City prices only up 1%. And it's basically down when you think about real, if you adjust for inflation. Only up 1%. All right. Typical home value. It is $336,000. And is that an all-time high? Yes. Yeah, it's an all-time record high in Grove City. So homes are at their peak, right? And every month, every month I get this data and think, all right, what's happening now? Another record, another record, another record. Higher for longer, folks. Higher for longer. So maybe this kind of would be a good exercise. Let's do this. Let's look at. I'll save that for the end. All right. Go back to the chat here. Vermilion, Ohio, 44089. Nope, haven't done that one yet. $44089. Inventory down 10% versus 2019 pre-COVID. So you still have fewer homes than before the horrible pandemic. But let's look at the number of homes. 51 houses right now. Last year, 28 houses. In 2023, you only had 28 houses last year. And if I go back to 2023, you only had 8 homes, only 8 houses on the market then. I go back all the way to 2017, though, you had 83 houses, a lot more homes, right? So you are gaining inventory right now, but it's not back to pre-COVID levels, but you're getting there. You're getting there. Let's look at prices. Prices up 4% still. They just don't want to stop, right? And I'm guessing it's an all-time high price. Someday we're going to do this and see price declines. Someday, whenever that is, I don't know. $253,000 in Vermilion, Ohio. $253,000. That's an all-time record high price. Goodness. Hits just keep on coming. All right, that's Vermilion. Wilmington, 45177. Got a few more to do. And then before I jump off, but I will look at some comments that y'all have, just general comments. Because I like interacting with you and I always learn something. Always. 45177. 45177. Inventory compared to pre-COVID. Let me look at where that is. Where's 45177? Yeah. Wilmington. All right. In Wilmington, you have 31% fewer houses than you did before COVID. Now let me do inventory count. You've got 30 houses on the market right now. Last year, you had 30. It's the same as you did last year for February. If I go back to February of 2021, you only had 10 houses. And if I go all the way back to 2017, you had 62 homes. And so this trend right here that we're seeing, this trend where the inventory was falling before the pandemic, like the inventory trend was going the wrong direction before the pandemic. We're seeing that throughout Ohio. I see it in a lot of areas of the U.S. actually, but particularly in the Midwest and Northeast, where we were losing inventory before COVID, and COVID just like threw gas on the fire, made it a lot worse. And you could see 62 homes in 2017 in February, and in February of 2018, you had 49, then 44, right? Then COVID hit or was about to hit. You had 29. Then look, the following year, you had 10. Basically nothing. And since then, it's just been on a struggle bus to get back to pre-COVID levels, and still not. Still not there. All right. 4% growth in prices year over year. So last year, homes were 4% less expensive, basically. In Wilmington. All right, now let's look at the typical value. What do we got? Typical value. $263,824. Record high price. Homes have never been more expensive than they are now in Wilmington. 45177. They just keep going up. Again, unless something seriously changes with inventory, wherever you are in Ohio, I don't see prices, getting much better, going down much. They could. There could be months where they fall, or you could find a deal. I'm not saying you can't find a deal. You can always find one if you hunt hard enough and negotiate hard enough and are patient. But you can always find, a discounted property. But it doesn't seem like you have the inventory growth to cause massive price decline. At least not in the zip code when I look. Now, everything is super hyper local, right? So if you go down to like a school district level, or even like a street level or neighborhood level, they could look different. They could. And that's when you have to do your analysis very hyper local on Zillow, or get with a realtor who can pull that data in a subdivision for you. And that way you can watch it every week and see what's happening. But overall in that zip code, it's not, it looks like prices are going to keep going. Oops. So that's Wilmington. Ooh, look at this one. Man. That brings back some memories. Too legit to quit. That was kind of like, that was like one of his, it wasn't his best stuff, right? Did he have great stuff? But MC Hammer, back in the day. Too legit to quit. All right, 43015. Let's find out how inventory is doing. Up 2.9%. Let me look. 43. Oops. Let me just look here. 430. Yeah, so in Delaware, inventory, you've got 3% more homes than you did in 2019. 3% more. Let's look at the count. How many do you have? 106. 106 houses on the market right now. Well, at the end of February. So not exactly right now. During COVID, like in 2022, you only had 30 houses. And if I go back to 2017, you had 142. So you are gaining inventory to legit, but you're not getting to a, you're still not back to 2017 levels, although you do have more than in 2019. So inventory is growing in Delaware. And this is the actual city of Delaware, right? Okay, let's look at prices. Prices only up 0.9%. So you're not up 4%, thank goodness, or 5%, but you are up still 0.9%. And they haven't fallen year over year, going all the way back to, what's this? 2012. 2012. Wow. All right, let's do typical value. What do we got? Typical home value. 416,307. And that is it an all-time high? Hard for me to see this all the way. It's very close. It is. I think it is an all-time high. Yeah. All-time high record price, 416,307 in Delaware County. Homes have never been more expensive. They just keep going up and up. Higher for longer. Thanks to Legit for suggesting Delaware. Miss Carla, 608-45415. 45415. Let's look at city. Where are you at? Dayton. Okay, that's in Dayton. All right, make sure I get it. 45415. Yep, got it. All right. Inventory since 2019 is down 37%. It looks like you actually made a recovery in inventory back in 2025, but now you're down again, which is interesting. So you only have 19 homes on the market, though, right now. But this is not a bad chart to look at because you can see what's happened. I mean, go back to 2017, you had 68 houses, which, is there's a decent selection there. But then the following year in 2018, you only had 38 homes. Then the following year in 2019, you had 30 houses. Then 21, then 10, then 10 houses, and they just kind of stayed stagnant as far as inventory. Now you only have 19, but looks like you're trying to crawl your way out of the gutter with inventory. But let's look at prices. How are they doing? 5% up. Jeez. Oh, look at this. Back in 2012, homes prices were down 18% year over year back then. And that was a drop. But that's not what's happening now. And I wish I could see inventory then. Like if I go all the way back to 2012, I wish I had that. I don't. It's very hard to find inventory numbers going back to 2000, especially by metro, very in an area like we're looking at today, very challenging to find. I mean, I've asked everybody. I've asked Lance Lambert. I've asked, the actual data providers themselves. They just don't have it. You have to go to the individual MLSs to find the data. But look at your typical home value, $224,000 in Dayton, 45415. 225,000. That's an all-time record high. I get sick of saying that, but that's the truth. All-time record high home price in Dayton. All right. So I've done a lot of these. Let me just go back and look at some comments here. I'll probably miss some. But when you've got more people on the stream, there's a lot more comments, obviously. Oh, here's a good one. Do you know the average age of home owners in Ohio? I don't. Do you think 60 plus have an emotional attachment to their home? Probably, I would think. A lot of people do. A lot of people have an emotional attachment to their house. I mean, it's a source of, I mean, you live there all the time, right? So I think a lot of people, just generally speaking, are attached to their house emotionally. But no, I don't know the average age of an Ohio homeowner. It'd be good to know. Some of those existing homes, this is a great point. Some of those existing homes are much better built than the ones they are putting up in a few months today. Yes, so I'm doing a new construction video right now. I'm working on it. I'm going to shoot it next week because it'll finally be decent out, hopefully. And I've spoke to some home builders about this, and one of the things I think that is kind of overlooked is that the wood they're using is new wood, right? It just is. It's newer wood because the trees are newer generally, right? And you look at some of these older homes, the wood, the beams they have in there are like petrified wood. They're like waterproof just from nature because they've been around so long. I think that, but at the end of the day, I believe there's a lot of good home builders out there still. But a lot of the new construction, you just got to watch it. You got to check it and do an inspection just like you would any other property. And if you do that, hopefully everything will be okay. But this goes back to my point that Ohio has a very has a problem with the age of houses, and it's not getting better. It's getting worse, and builders are not building here like they are in other states. So, a lot of these older homes are commanding top price because there's not a lot of new construction. I'm not necessarily waiting for price to fall. I'm hoping for them to stay stagnant a bit more and for wages to catch up. That's kind of like the theory out there, right? Nationally, if you look, home prices are not growing as fast as wages. Wage growth is outpacing home price growth nationally. Maybe not here in Ohio, but it's probably close, right? It's probably close overall for the state. We're up 3.3% in prices. Wages, are wages growing 3%? Maybe. But that is just time is probably something that we need as long as, like you say, things stay stagnant. But if prices go up more than wages, it's going to make things just more unaffordable. I'm just looking for any other comments or questions. I saw one down here that was interesting. Raymond, you cut the price in your house $60,000. Wow. I'll take 140 for it. It's renovated. Yeah, I think I saw that. Oh, you're looking. Maybe Tammy will buy it. Mhm. Oh, look at this guy. Locked up Larry. What's happening? Locked up Larry and I have a special relationship. He's he kind of, lack of a better term, I guess, trolls me a little bit on the national channel. And I don't know if you live in Ohio or not. I'd love to know, Larry, where you live. Just because I like to look at your market. But maybe you do live in Ohio because you hang out here sometimes. Take my 3%. Okay, let's go do some business. Let me help you find something. Also, going back to Raymond, you have a lot of showings, Raymond. Okay, a lot of showings. What did they? I wonder what the showings are telling you. Right, you don't want to step on toes as a realtor. You'll get revoked. All right, let me look at. A realtor we talked to says prices in Columbus area are just going to keep going up from here. I'm worried we're going to be priced out. We can't really do more than 350, but everything is higher. I mean, nobody knows what's going to happen in the future, obviously. The trend doesn't show that prices are going to meaningfully decline right now because of the inventory situation. I mean, you just look at the numbers, right? You can tell the prices, generally speaking, have continued to go up. Um, yeah, I mean, it really depends on your goals and what you want to do. And sometimes you have to change location, right? You just have to if you and if you want to buy something, right? But you don't always have to buy. Like it doesn't, there's no rule that says you have to buy a home. A lot of people are happy not buying, right? And renting. There's nothing wrong with that necessarily. So I wouldn't put too much pressure on yourself unless there's a really there's a deep need to buy a house and live in it. Uh, there's a buyer guide I put out on my Ohio website, ohiohousingnerd.com/free. And it's a buyer guide you can download. And it gives you kind of an idea of it's like 5 questions to go through to find out if you should buy a house or not, if you're ready to buy a house or you're ready to move forward and at least start the process, in a serious way. I'd encourage you to go through it because one of the first things that ask you is, why are you buying? Like, what's the reason? Are you buying because you're like, I think I should buy a home? Are you buying because you've been pressured? Um, Maybe you just want to own your own property for whatever reason, and that's fine. But I think you have to check yourself on that, right? No one says you have to buy a house and live in it, and sometimes it costs you more than renting, especially right now. Anyway, I wouldn't uh I wouldn't put too much pressure on yourself. It's and there's always going to be houses out there to buy, generally speaking. So I don't know that you'll miss out. I think you have to operate on your timeline, not on the realtor's timeline. And the other thing is, I do always encourage people to seriously look at investing in real estate, even if it's not your primary home. Like, there's nothing wrong with renting. And then you say, well, I really want to own property because of, future wealth growth. Okay, well, buy, then you can buy a rental, right? You don't have to buy your primary home. Just saying. Houses under 350 sell in 2 to 3 days. Yeah, a lot of times I do. I agree with Larry. Sales data is needed here for these type of claims. Yeah. So the weird thing is, all I have is pending sales. I showed that at the beginning a little bit, and I could certainly go into that more on future streams as far as actually like pending or closed. But this data provider I use, Realtor.com, they only have pending sales. So I'd have to go to, and most people use pending. So I can use that more moving forward. There's no doubt I can do that. But I mean, if homes are closing, if the typical value on a home is closing higher than last year, it is what it is, right? Sales down 1% on CNBC. Yes, sales are down. Like, there's no doubt. Like, I mean, I think Ohio's flat right now, right? We looked at that earlier. Ohio, the number of homes actually selling is flat, like up 0.4%, nothing. Cincinnati was up significantly. Uh, no, Cincinnati was down. Cleveland was up. Columbus was down in the number of homes for sale. Or I'm sorry, the number of homes that have sold. So, overall demand has been low or stagnant throughout the US. That's what's crazy about the number of homes for sale. If we had this type of demand and a lot of people listed their house, you'd see probably prices come down. Adjust that chart for inflation. Yeah, they don't do that. They don't do that. You just have to kind of mentally subtract, a couple percentage points. I'm just looking for any questions. Buy some land, build cheap, sure. 45385. I was going to borrow against my equity to make much needed repairs, but no way do I want another mortgage right now. That's a tough decision, right? I understand what you're saying. You have that equity you want to tap in order to upgrade your house or do just some repairs. But you're like, I don't want to have to make that payment. And it really comes down to how you're going to get the money and what's the cost for that money, right? What's the cost? Are you having to pull from a retirement? Or are you having to pull from an investment? Right? You just have to weigh those things. Home equity lines of credit now, what are they? 10%? I'm guessing they're 10%. I haven't looked at one in a long time. Oh, look at this. 43023. Yeah, I'll do that one. I know this market pretty well. 43023. Oh, you know what? Before I do that and get excited, let me go back to this one. I didn't do your zip code. 45385. Look at where that is. 45385. I'll keep this going for a couple more minutes, folks. Then I'll jump off. In Xenia, Ohio. Down 50% in the number of homes for sale versus 2019. Down 50%. Jeez. Some of this inventory information is goofy. You'd think it would have some growth at some point. 46 houses on the market right now, 22 during COVID, 27 in 2021, and 22 in 2022. Not a lot of inventory then, and you're starting to recover, but back, if you go all the way to 2017, 130 houses available in Xenia. So you're still on the struggle bus with inventory. Prices, look at that, up 5%. That's one of the higher growth numbers we've seen. Up 5%. And then the typical value, what's that? Typical home value. Look at that. 248,928 all-time record high. Yeah, that upward swing there has been dramatic in Xenia. And these small Ohio towns are, some of these prices just keep going and going and going. Maybe if people are trying to move out to small towns because they're like, hey, better being out here than maybe in the city. I don't know. But prices are at all-time record highs there in Xenia. All right. Let's do this next one, which was, what's up, William? How you doing? 43203. I know this one. This one is Granville. I know Granville well. Let's find out what's happening in Granville. 43023. Inventory down since 2019, down 40% in Granville, Ohio. So 40% fewer homes than before COVID. And it's been rough, I think, since COVID. Yeah, we only have 25 houses on the market right now. And this is in the zip code. So, overall, right? It doesn't, this does not count, by the way, William. This doesn't count like the Park Trails area or Park Ridge, because that's 43055. And I can't capture like a school district on here. It won't give me the data that way. But if you're interested in just like the Granville School District, for instance, just hit me up in my email below and I can pull that data for you. But 25 houses in Granville right now, or at the end of February, for sale. And during COVID, 13 houses. So we've definitely gained some inventory, but look at that. In 2017, we had 60 houses. So we're far from that number. All right, let's look at pricing. I wonder how pricing is doing. Pricing only up 2%. So when you think about inflation, to Larry's point, you're, down slightly when you think about inflation and real price growth, not nominal. And there were a few months here where prices were only up 0.1%. last year, right? They were barely up. In 2017, we had a pretty big price drop. Prices were down 9% at one point, year over year, down 11%. Kind of looks strange, right, in the graph. One big dip right through here in 2017. But let's look at the typical value. How's that doing? Typical home value in Granville, Ohio, home of the Blue Aces. All right, 518,304, and that is a record high. So, record high home price for Granville, Ohio, similar to what we've seen in many other parts of Ohio. And I bet if you added in that Park Trail stuff and Park Ridge, this number would probably come down because the homes over there, a lot of them are priced in the 400s, except that new development, Willow Bend, which is all new construction. I think those homes are in the fives, right? Fives and up. $518,304 in Granville, Ohio, all-time record high home price. All right. Thanks, William, for suggesting that. All right, let me see. Oh. Oh, that's hilarious. I did the wrong one. 3203. Okay, well, I'll do that one next. My bad. 32. I got excited. 43203. I'll do it. All right, William, I'm doing the right one now. Now, of course, it's not going to give it to me. 43203. My bad, guys. 43203. Yeah, why isn't that giving me that zip code? It's in Columbus, right? Let me see. 43230. This is the right one, right? 432203. No, I'm still in the wrong one. What's happening? Sometimes this thing doesn't want to cooperate. There we go. It's right here in the middle. Sorry, William. All right. 43203. That's the right one, right? Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate you catching me on that. Prices, and this is in Columbus, up 19%. No, not prices. Sorry. Active inventory, up 19%. It's been a long stream. Since 2019. So you've got inventory actually up 20%. Good for you. Good for you. Let's do active inventory count. 37 right now. Last year you had 35 houses on the market. During COVID, you had 19. So you are gaining some inventory. Good. And home price down. Look at this, folks. Down 4%. So we got a market, little zip code in Columbus where prices are down. They're down year over year 4%. And then if I look at the typical single family value, yeah, definitely not the all-time high, right? 225,805. You peaked right here at 241. 241. So you're definitely off. I mean, off a good amount, right? $15,000 or so from the all-time high. And that's a trend we see in a lot of markets through the US. We just haven't seen it a lot in Ohio yet. So you're down year over year in prices, and prices are off from their peak. Let me look at pending sales. Pending sales are up 14%. So 14% more people putting homes in contract than last year. So demand is up. Let's look at the pending listing count. Only 12 homes, though. Last year, you had 11. So just one more house. Not that big of a deal, right? But if you have 12 homes going into contract, then you had 37 houses total. You basically have like what, 3 months of supply? If all these stay on the market and all those pending sales close, which sometimes pending sales don't close, and sometimes houses are pulled from the market. So just looking at the raw numbers, about 3 months of supply there. It's not a ton of inventory, but it is, I mean, if I look at the historical chart here, it is more than you've had in the last decade. So there are more and more houses on the market. That's 43203. I'm just looking and seeing. Yeah, it's the east side of Columbus, right? Yep. So that's what's happening. All right. All right. Let's see. Don Nye. All these realtors are taking advantage of the government housing as well as a Section 8 as well. Everybody don't want to pay taxes and are trying to get out of paying taxes, and inspections are. I don't know about that comment. I'm not sure what you're trying to say. Is there any data on the influx of workers building data centers affecting house prices, even temporarily? No, I don't have any, but that's the, you're going to send me down a rabbit hole with that one. I mean, there has to be a demand increase, right? From people building data centers. I got to live somewhere, right? I know I can tell you that I have some short-term rentals, and they oftentimes are filled with people working at different projects who are moving, or not moving, but living, locally, and they're from out of state. So I know that does happen. So that's demand I know of, but overall numbers, I'm not sure. There has to be an increase though. Real estate should not be considered a business. Okay. No industry to do anything. No industry to do anything. I'm not sure what that means. I mean, it is a business. If you make money, you got to be if you're a for-profit company, right? You got to pay taxes and all that jazz. So you got to be a business. Right. We looked at that one, right? Too legit. Yep. Let me just look. Hey there, Martin. I did it earlier in the live stream. So rewind it, and actually I'll put chapters in after the live stream ends. And I did Sylvania earlier. Literally, what's up, OG? Literally just told my realtor I'll hold off for another year or more because of this. Plus, I'm perfectly fine in my current living situation. There's nothing wrong with being patient. Nothing. I mean, again, ask yourself, if you're thinking about buying a home, first thing you should ask is why? Why am I buying a house? Right? Sometimes you determine, I don't know why. Because I want it. That's sometimes not a great reason to do something just because you want it, right? Especially buying or spending money. Sometimes your current situation is optimal, right? Or maybe you just need to move to a different area of the state or a different area of the country if you're looking for something different. But it's not that you have to buy a house. So good for you. Let's consider what happens when you reduce a sample pool inventory and then only sell the top 10% in terms of the pool. The average goes up. This means noting nothing without, I'm thinking you say sales data. So yeah, one of the things that people oftentimes comment on my channel about is the pricing. right? Because they don't like it, right? Which I get, I understand. So that's why I use this, which is the typical value. Um, it's not median and it's not average. So what they do is they take the value from the 35th to 65th percentile. So they're taking out all the top end and all the low end. So if the home is priced, let's pretend the market is off, well, this market here, right? In 43223 in Columbus, if the typical house is 167 grand and a $500,000 house sells, it's not in this data. So that's why I use it. It's not median, it's not average. They're taking out all the high stuff and all the low stuff. So hopefully that answers what you're trying to say. And at the end of the day, those are the houses that that's the data. And there are a lot of data providers out there, but I like the typical value because it's not average and it's not median. Though I do use median sometimes when I look at Redfin data. All right. I think some people had other zip codes to look at, but I'm kind of wiped. So I'm going to probably sign up. I'm just checking any other comments. It's a bubble. I mean, it could be, right? Who knows? But again, you have to have a lot of forced selling and a lot of inventory come to market to see any type of massive price decline. So look wherever you're looking to buy, whether it's in Ohio or California, doesn't matter, wherever. Look at your zip code that you want to buy in. Look at the inventory, and if you're seeing a lot of inventory come to market, a lot more than historical averages, and it's sitting there, it's not selling, and more inventory comes quickly, you're going to know that there's a change happening, and you probably will see prices come down. I mean, that's what happened in 2000 and 7, 8, 9, 10, right? You saw an explosion of inventory because of a lot of forced selling. So there has to be a mechanism for the forced selling. You've got to see a lot of inventory hit the street, and owners be forced to sell. Right now, you just don't have a lot of forced selling. Most people who are selling are like, I don't have to sell. I want to sell, but I don't need to sell. So when you don't have a lot of forced selling, it's hard to have massive price decline. Hard to have. Oh, but not in Ohio. It's a bubble, not in Ohio. Oh, yeah. There could be areas. There are, right? You've seen a lot of prices come down in Texas and Florida and definitely parts of the Sun Belt, Southwest. Prices definitely declining. My Zestimate is up 200,000. Yeah, it's important to know that like these typical values may not be what you sell your house for, right? Just because the values are up doesn't mean that you're going to sell it for that. It's all based on that little market where you live and the condition of your home and what buyers are doing right then, and also where you price the home. So all that has to be taken into account. All right, so I'm going to wrap this up, but before I go, a couple of big developments. I mentioned them earlier, but if you're just joining us, I've got the new website, ohiohousingnerd.com, and there's a free buyer guide if you want it, ohiohousingnerd.com/free. That's a free buyer guide you can take advantage of. There's one blog article on that website you can take a look at. I'll add more. And yep, that's what's happening right now. If you're looking for a good realtor, give me a ring. I'm in the area. I cover Central Ohio mainly, so Franklin County, Licking County, Knox, all around the Columbus market, Muskingum County. I know that market pretty well. Licking County, obviously. So, and Delaware County. So I'm here to help. If you need me, hit me up. My contact information is in the description. Thanks for joining me on the live stream. We'll do it again next week. I'm the Ohio Housing Nerd, and I am out. OUT out.